Apple just launched AirTag 2 with that slick new precision finding feature for Apple Watch. And yeah, it's cool, but let's be honest. That's just the appetizer. The real story is 2026. Because if the current leaks, patents, and supply chain reports are even half true, next year is when Apple completely snaps its own rule book in half. We're talking about Apple jumping into categories people swore they'd never touch, finally shipping products that have been rumored for nearly a decade, and pushing out a purr roadmap that could include up to 20 new devices across iPhone, Mac, AirPods, and smart home. If you thought Vision Pro was Apple taking a big swing, wait until you see what's supposedly lined up next. From a foldable iPhone that actually makes sense, to a budget MacBook designed to obliterate cheap Chromebooks, 2026 is shaping up to be one of the most important years in Apple's history. So let's walk through every major Apple 2026 leak, rumor, and expected release, and you'll see why your wallet is in real danger. Let's start with the most immediate shift, the Mac lineup. Because if the reports are right, the MacBook Pro is about to go through something almost unheard of. Two major updates in the same year. First up is the more traditional refresh, expected very soon, likely around the same window as the AirTag 2 rollout. This will be the familiar spec bump, new M5 Pro and M5 Max chips, built on an improved 3nm process. What does that mean in real terms? You're looking at roughly 15 to 20% better graphics performance, smoother rendering, and improved power efficiency. For video editors, 3D artists, software developers, anyone who needs a reliable workhorse right now, this first 2026 MacBook Pro will be the safe, powerful choice. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you can wait until late 2026, that's when the MacBook Pro is rumored to get its first true revolution in years. Multiple leaks are pointing to OLED displays finally coming to the MacBook Pro lineup. That means true inky blacks, massive contrast ratios, richer HDR content, and potentially a thinner chassis. Since older panels don't require a traditional backlight on top of that, there's increasing chatter about Apple testing a touchscreen MacBook Pro, a concept Steve Jobs famously rejected. But times and product lines have changed. Apple now needs to bridge the gap between iPad Pro and MacBook Pro, and a touchscreen old Mac starts to make that crossover feel a lot more natural. So if you're dreaming of a future where Mac OS and touch input finally coexist in a serious way, late 2026 is the update to watch. But the most disruptive Mac of 2026 might not be the high-end Pro. It might be the cheapest MacBook Apple has ever made. For years, the entry-level laptop market has been ruled by plastic Windows notebooks and Chromebooks. That's the space students, schools, and casual users live in. Now, Apple is reportedly preparing a MacBook SE or possibly just a rebranded MacBook to launch in the spring. This isn't just a recycled MacBook Air. Leaks suggest a 12 or 13-inch laptop powered not by an M-series chip, but by an A-series processor, likely something like an A19 Pro derived from the iPhone line. Why does that matter? Because using an A-series chip could slash costs significantly while still delivering excellent performance for web, media, and productivity. We're hearing potential starting prices as low as $599 or $699. Picture this. A laptop with the build quality of a Mac, the battery life of an iPad, and a price that competes directly with low-end Windows and Chromebook models on top of that. There are whispers about fun, nostalgic colors, almost like a modern take on the classic iBook aesthetic, something that would absolutely crush in the student and casual buyer market if Apple actually ships $600 Australian dollars, $700 MacBook with that kind of hardware and battery life. It's going to fly off shelves and completely reshape the budget laptop conversation. Now let's step away from the desk and into your living room, because 2026 is also the year Apple finally seems ready to take the smart home seriously. Up until now, HomeKit has felt like a side project, clean, secure, but limited. That looks like it's about to change. At the center of this new push is a rumored Apple Home Hub. Imagine a squared-off 7-inch display, visually somewhere between a small iPad and a HomePod. This device is designed to be wall-mounted or attached to a magnetic speaker dock. It's expected to run a dedicated Homo-style interface, powered by the next-generation Apple Intelligence Enhanced Siri. It's not just a pretty screen. It's a command center for your home, thanks to built-in proximity sensors. The display will stay minimal, a simple clock or ambient info until you walk up to it. When it detects you, it can instantly transform into a full control dashboard showing your lights, climate controls, cameras, calendar and reminders, scenes and automations. And Apple isn't stopping at the hub. Reports suggest Apple is also working on its own line of smart security cameras and an Apple Smart Lock. These will plug directly into HomeKit secure video with end-to-end encryption, giving Apple a huge angle over competitors like Ring and Nest when it comes to privacy. For people already living inside the Apple ecosystem, this could be the moment the entire house starts to feel like part of your iPhone. But the strangest and maybe most futuristic hardware rumor for 2026 belongs to AirPods. We're not just talking about better noise cancellation or improved sound tuning. The leaks around AirPods Pro 3 Plus sound like something out of science fiction. Multiple sources are claiming that this next-level AirPods Pro model will include tiny infrared cameras hidden in the stems. Not for selfies, not for video calls. These micro cameras are reportedly for spatial awareness and gesture control. Picture this. You're listening to music, and instead of tapping your ear, you just swipe in the air near your face to change tracks. Or you make a subtle hand motion to adjust volume. Similar in spirit to the pinch and gesture controls on Apple Vision Pro, but miniaturized into EARBUDS. By tracking your environment and hand movements, these AirPods could anchor your audio experience to the physical world around you, opening the door to truly immersive spatial audio and spatial computing that goes way beyond today's headphones. It sounds wild. It sounds almost unbelievable. But when you remember that Apple is betting big on spatial computing, shoving sensors and intelligence into AirPods Pro 3 Plus suddenly feels like a very Apple move. Of course, all this hardware needs the right software to tie it together, and that's where iOS 27 comes in. If the rumors are accurate, iOS 27 is going to be one of the most heavy updates Apple has ever shipped. Apple knows Siri has fallen behind, so they're reportedly deepening their partnership with Google to integrate powerful language models directly into iOS, while also developing their own Apple GPT-style chatbot for on-device and hybrid AI. The vision is to turn Siri from a basic voice assistant into a truly conversational AI layer that sits on top of your entire iPhone experience. We're talking about features like handling multi-step tasks, plan a 3-day trip to New York, book flights, find a hotel near Central Park, and add it to my calendar. Summarizing emails, messages, articles, and documents, drafting responses, and even helping with coding, proactively surfacing things you need before you ask. This isn't meant to be Siri, but slightly better. The idea is to make a core system feature, woven into every app and workflow on your phone. And that brings us to the main event. The iPhone lineup for 22/6. This fall, Apple is expected to split the iPhone family in a more radical way than we've seen in years. On one side, you'll have the traditional flagships, the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. These are expected to ship with the new A20 chip, built on a cutting-edge 2-nanometer process. That means huge gains in power efficiency, even more powerful neural engines, and best-in-class on-device AI performance for Apple Intelligence and advanced camera features. Wise. The iPhone 18 Pro line is rumored to refine what we've already seen, a smaller dynamic island, or possibly under-display Face ID with only a tiny hole punch camera visible. The rear camera system, though, is where things could get dramatically more interesting. Leakers are talking about a variable aperture lens camera that can mechanically open and close its aperture blades, adjusting how much light hits the sensor dot in practice. That would give you better low light performance when the aperture is wide open, more natural depth of field control without relying completely on fake software-generated blurs, stronger separation between your subject and background in photos and video for photography enthusiasts. This could be one of the biggest camera upgrades in years.